Hey, well, good morning. Good to see you, and welcome to all of you joining us on live stream. We're so glad to have you as well. Well, this entire month of November, we're celebrating Impact. And if you don't know what that is, 2.5 years ago, we launched this strategic missions campaign to do some incredible things, both here locally and around our world. And we ask those who are in this room, and many of you who are if you'd be willing to give above what you normally give to Springbrook in a tithe, if you would give to Impact to raise $250,000 over 5 years. Now remember, we just started this 2.5 years ago, so you do the math and the accounting and figure this out as I tell you. But as of last week, we've taken in over $200,000 halfway through this campaign. So I want to thank you. Give yourself a hand. I want to thank you, and those of you here and those of you at home, for your generosity. And last week, if you tuned in or you watched it on live stream, or you can always go back to our website and watch any of these on demand, we heard about the difference that our mission champions were making in all of our adult small groups. And last week we got to hear from this family right here, Laura Morales. And if you missed it, you've got to watch it online. Laura Morales was homeless, living in a car with her children and her dog. And one of our small groups, our ladies' small group led by Margaret Gordon, put a challenge up to me and to Springbrook and said, can you help us meet a need? And I'm not going to tell you any more of the story. You got to go to our website and watch it, but it's incredible what God has done through that small group and through all of us in making a difference in her life. And then also last week, we heard from John Jew, and he's planning a church, and we're going to sponsor that church. And look, I think his logo is going to be up here, Church 168, and that's going to start somewhere in the Oak Brook area. And guess what? You and I are the sponsoring church for John Jew. And what was really cool, one of his friends was here named Carl Fisher. Carl Fisher has yet to plant a church, wants to plant a church, and this brand new church that we're planting together is starting out with the DNA of planting another church, and Carl's going to lead that church. How cool is that? And you and I get to be a part of it. Well, today we're going to talk with one of our long time partners, Africa New Life, who's doing a great work in Rwanda, Africa. And before I invite those special guests up on stage, I want you to hear one of the stories of how God is at work in that nation. Watch this.
My name is Frida Ingabire. I'm 26 years old. I was born in Uganda. I grew up with no parents. I grew up with my 5. My dad died when I was 1 year, and my mom died when I was 8 years old. So we grew up in a village, Mutara, and then we moved to Kayonza. Our sisters had to move us to Kayonza, and that's where we started our new life, and things seemed to change by then. I love my sisters because we spend time together, we tell stories and laugh together, we go out, and we do everything together. When we got to Kayonza, we joined New Life Junior Academy. We learned about the sponsorship at Africa New Life Ministries. So my sister requested them to register the 2 of us. My sister and I were in grade 6. They took our pictures. We waited for some time, and then we got sponsors, and we were very excited because we loved school and we wanted to study hard. Me and my sister were always the first in class. Getting a sponsor really helped my life towards my education and spiritual transformation. I was really transformed. It was not only about education, but a really big part of what made me who I am today is all about the discipleship and the mentorship, that was provided to us from Africa New Life. It truly changed my life. I really didn't have hope and had no plans to go to college. If I didn't get a sponsor, I would have possibly been in the village somewhere. I would have been married at an early age, or I would have been a street child. I would be hopeless, with no ambitions, with no excitement for the future. I would really be miserable somewhere in the village because I could not imagine my life without education. Could not imagine my life without knowing Jesus. As we all know for sure, next to knowing Jesus, education is key to a successful life. After high school, I applied and got accepted into the ESTA College Scholarship Program, which provides 30 scholarships each year for girls to attend university. So now I hold a bachelor's degree in pharmacy, and my goal is to further my education to global health. On my day off, I love to go to church. I love being in church. I mentor for girls in the girls ministry, and one of my favorite verses I share with the girls is in Psalms 139, verse 16. He saw me before I was born and scheduled each day of my life before I began to breathe. Every day was recorded in your book. I have been blessed so much that I chose to help someone else with their school fees. My heart really longs for that, to help someone else. I want it to be different. Now I am a pharmacist, and I'm the owner of my own pharmacy, and that alone is Jesus. I am so proud of myself, not pride, but I'm so proud and grateful to what God has done in my life. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I am free. His eye is on the sparrow.
Wow, huh? That incredible? Well, we are so blessed at Springbrook to be friends with a couple of folks who work for Africa New Life and allow us to do ministry on the other side of the world. Would you give a warm welcome to Matt Stein, U.S. Director of Development and Marketing for Africa New Life, and Chusa Lionel, a young man impacted by that ministry. Hey, good morning, guys. Good to see you. Good to see you guys. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Well, for those who don't know about Africa New Life, and I can't imagine that anybody at Springbrook doesn't, but some of you who may be watching or some of you in the room, Matt, tell us a little bit about the ministry. So let's pretend we don't know anything and just let us know.
Sure. Awesome. A little bit of what Africa New Life is doing. It's working in Rwanda, and it was founded by a Rwandan pastor, Pastor Charles Mugisha, and it's focused on helping students come out of that horrible cycle of poverty. And the way that he did it from the beginning and what it's grown to be these days is he's using the two hands. And the two hands of Africa New Life are the gospel of Jesus Christ, the chance to let people know that God made them, he loves them, he forgives them, and that they can know him. And we make that the foundation of our work with students. And then also the hand of compassion, which would be there's many obstacles that are put in these kids' paths by poverty, and they need just that help to remove the obstacles. And Africa New Life tries to identify what those are and clear them out of the way. So it started with just 29 students in 2001. We're coming up on our 20th anniversary next year. Wow. And right now there's more than 10,000 students in Rwanda across 7 communities, including the community of Kayonza, where Springbrook has been such a blessing to help 47 students plus some special kids in the Timothy.
Wow. So help us understand, because we hear poverty stats all the time in America, right? So tell us what the average Rwandan living not in the city, what that looks like for them on a daily basis. And she said, join in there and tell us maybe from your childhood or whatever, what does that look like even today, even though Rwanda's come a long way? What does that poverty look like? Where do these people live? What do they do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you can compare it with the American life because, I mean, if you make an estimation of what a person makes a day is equivalent to like $1 here. So,
Wow.
And that is gonna feed, some of the homes have more than 5 people in the house. So you imagine $1 feeding a house full of 5 people. I grew up in a bigger house as well, 5 siblings with a single mother, and life was not easy. And I don't know if y'all know about genocide, but genocide was a very bad civil war that happened, and it ruined everything in our country. And so that made like a lot of people be left with no parents, no husband or wives. But overall, I think what made it really hard is to accept the fact that Rwanda was this good country. Now everything is lost. There's nothing left now. So the economy went down, and there was so much desperate left into the hearts of people.
Yeah, when I was there in Rwanda right after the genocide, so I don't think I could even begin to describe in words what I saw. And many people lived through that. And a lot of people didn't live, about 1 million people didn't live through it. And that kind of poverty, as a result of that, and just where Rwanda is, has left families devastated. And I think when we hear $1 a day, I mean, you can't buy a cup of Starbucks coffee for $1. I mean, you can't buy anything really for $1 in America. So it's overwhelming to hear that. And a pastor decides, I'm going to make the difference in the lives of children. So let me fast forward a little bit here, because now we're in 2020, COVID, it's everywhere, right? And nations shutting down, the U.S. with its own shutdowns in different states. How is Rwanda coping with that? And how are you dealing with that as a ministry? Because I would suspect, I mean, I think our guess would be, man, if if COVID is this serious in America, it must really be a serious issue there. So talk to us about that as a ministry.
Absolutely, and we know our offices in Portland, we get a lot of calls from sponsors asking this question. How are things going in Rwanda? And it has been a difficult season, unquestionably. On the positive side, the number of cases in the country overall through the whole season has been just over 5,200 cases that have been in Rwanda, many of which have recovered at this point. And in that, and we're very glad to report this, there has not been a single student, family, or Africa New Life staff member who has gotten sick with COVID through this whole season, and we're so glad for that.
That's great news.
Yes, but the difficult thing and the tough balance is how you address real health concerns and the possibility if the pandemic did sweep through, Rwanda doesn't have the infrastructure to handle that medically. But on the other side, by shutting down the economy in places, it's produced great difficulty because it's a developing country. We're trying to move forward, and so we're trying to find the balance of how to do that right. And actually, Pastor Charles has put together some thoughts on that of this COVID season that maybe we could watch an update from him.
Awesome. Let's watch that video.
Hi everybody, it's good to come to you today and share with you what is actually happening in Rwanda during this season, which has affected the entire globe. We all feel the pain of COVID-19, and in a very particular way, I want to tell you what's happening in Rwanda and how COVID has actually affected us. Many of our child-sponsored families are actually suffering and struggling due to lack of jobs. For the last nearly 20 years, now 19 years, African New Life has been educating children. We have been feeding children. We have been training leaders for the next generation. We've been the hope for the communities we serve. And in a time like this, we decided as African New Life to focus on strengthening hope in such a way that we don't lose the steps we have taken in the lives of the families and over 11,000 children we serve. So we had to create a COVID mode of education, which is similar to the old-fashioned correspondence school. We had to download the entire curriculum and develop modules and paces for our students to be able to continue education. So as a result, during this season, African New Life Ministry children are continuing to have an education in their homes. We have been very blessed by many of you, our donors, and I want to really thank you for your generosity around this time, especially in the area of feeding sponsored children, more than sponsored children, families, entire families. We don't want people to go hungry. They don't have jobs. They don't have a way to bring an income and provide for themselves. It's normally hard, but this time it was harder than ever before. We've been strengthening the faith of those we serve. We've become very creative to learn to deliver messages online, to learn to deliver the gospel on Facebook. That was a real change. We've been able to create a radio program for the Rwanda speakers, for them to be able to still get the gospel all the way to Kajeyo, Kayonza, Kalangazi, Gisenyi, because the churches have been closed throughout this time. I want to thank you, and we are trusting God that a new year is on the horizon coming, relaunching education, relaunching churches, relaunching better ways of serving our children, relaunching new innovations and creations to be able to serve the communities and fulfill the mission God has given us of serving the people of Rwanda with two hands of the gospel. Good news and good works at the same time.
You know, what's incredible about that video is that, in America, all of us are affected by this. If you have children in school, I know we talked about this, you've got 3 kids who are at home every day, zooming into their classroom. I think the assumption would be for all of us that Rwanda probably just shut down and kids are sitting at home doing nothing. Before we jump to that next subject in Kayonza, tell us a little bit about how African New Life is actually doing that, because I think we would assume there's no internet there and they're sending out by pigeon or something. How does that work in a country like that? That's incredible.
Absolutely. It's kind of the saying, crisis is the cradle for innovation.
That's true.
And they have found amazing ways to still serve and do an amazing job with the students. And so one of the main ways is each month, every student in African New Life, and this is new, we had never done this before, but every student in African New Life comes to their local sponsorship office, receives a bundle of food from us, and at the same time gets a packet of their education materials to take home and to be working through. And so they're resourced with that. They turn in last month's, and they get the new one. They receive the food. And what it's done has been just a phenomenal witness to Jesus through this time, because many families have said, why are you doing this? Why are you blessing us so much? And they're able to say, this is because God loves you and he sees you and he provides for you. So they've been just resourcing them through this whole time. It's not perfect, but it is a lot better than being stuck at home.
For sure. Well, let's go to Kayonza for just a minute. I think we have a map up here that they're going to put up. Yeah, so for those of us who don't regularly look at the map of Rwanda, and I can't find the way out of my subdivision.
Right there.
Yeah, there it is, right? All right, so tell us a little bit. So Kigali is the main place where you would, if you flew into Rwanda, that's where you're going to fly into. So Kigali is like a normal kind of city.
More than 1 million people that live there, and very, very developed in many places.
Right, okay. So describe the trip to Kayonza and what that looks like, and when you get there, what do you see?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to let Chusa share a little bit on
Okay.
this. But an hour and a half outside of Kigali to the east is the original community of African New Life.
And it's an
Kayonza.
expressway, I'm sure, with
Yeah,
rest stops
it's
and
straight and
yeah,
no bumps.
McDonald's.
It's actually pretty good. Yeah, but an hour and a half, and this community is where Charles and many others founded African New Life, and it's a place of great hope because we have our great academy, New Life Christian Academy there. And Jusa, maybe you can share a little bit about Kayonza.
Yeah, so this place, this is where I went to school. So from 5th grade to until I finished high school. So I'm pretty, I know every single corner in that place. And like, so it's just a small campus. When I was there, we had about 700 students, and live on campus. It's a boarding school. You don't get out. And we have church. We go. Let's see. So we have church, and we also like have these groups that we do. And I was one of the leaders. So I remember like vividly standing in my group outside of the cafeteria, and we were praying for the building, for the high school building, because we didn't have it, like a bigger place to go in. And it's so amazing to look at it now and see what God has done and the development. I mean, sometimes I look at it, I'm like, I don't think this is the school I went to, because it looks way different. But this is a place that has shaped a lot of lives, including me, either academically or spiritually. Like, that's where I had to transition to where I am today. So I think this was a really strong foundation for my life.
Wow.
And this school is, it's now double the size. It's more than 1,300 students there. The majority of them are sponsored students, which means they're coming from the lowest 2 economic classes in Rwanda. And they are year after year performing the best and against the best schools in the country and in the top 5 each year. And it's just such a reminder that as you actually clear those obstacles, these are amazing students. They can accomplish so much. Chusa is an amazing example of them, but they do it year after year. So we're really proud of what's happening there. And again, this is where the majority of Springbrook sponsorships are. Many of you have students going to New Life Christian Academy, and they're working really hard. It's very common that, especially in high school, kids are getting up at 4:30 in the morning to start their day with their studies and their devotionals.
Amazing. So let me go to this direction for a second. So Springbrook has been involved for the last few years in something called the Timothy House. And describe what the Timothy House was for those who don't know. And then I know some changes are being made in a very positive way, but tell us what that meant and what it's going to be.
Sure. So the concept around the Timothy House was really simple. Alongside these 1,300 students that are at the campus, there's still a group of students who are very vulnerable. They have very little when it comes to food, clothing, basic materials, sometimes mentorship and discipleship. They are hurting students. And so they identified groups of students, and they came into homes like the Timothy home on campus. It's a children's residence where they had a house mom, and that house mom would provide, and African New Life would provide all that was needed for these very vulnerable students to come up to kind of that level that they could succeed and thrive. The government a year ago now decided that elementary age students shouldn't be on campus all the time, kind of in a dorm setting, in a house setting. So what we've done, we have moved the elementary students off into surrounding families where they are now with what we would call guardian angels.
Okay.
And they would be in those homes, and they would get that support. African New Life's providing additional support so that the needs are met for these elementary aged kids. And then the high school, middle school, high school age kids are able to stay on campus. They're in dorms, but their social worker helps to identify what's missing and make sure that they have it.
And I think these are some of the children now, the students that Springbrook
Helps.
Yes.
There's total Guardian Angel, in the Guardian Angel program, there's 52 total, but there are 15 that needed that additional help to get the resources they need that Springbrook is coming alongside. These are specifically those children.
These are the children that you're making a difference in their life. Look at their faces as those slides go by. These are not random numbers and statistics. These are real kids.
This is so amazing because I just saw like a couple of pictures there, and I know them, but when I was there, they were little, like very young, and now I'm looking at them, I'm like, oh my gosh, they have grown so much. So thank you. This means that you are doing a great job, and you are helping someone somewhere grow and develop in a certain way. So God bless you.
Yeah, you know what's, I think we forget this, and those of you watching at home, right, we forget this. When you hear this kind of stuff in America, you change the channel, you almost become numb. There's an organization everywhere that's doing stuff. At Springbrook, you're making a literal difference in the lives of these kids. These are real kids that you know. Go ahead.
And I was reading a story of Beza, who was one of the first pictured students. She was saying that before she came to New Life, she was not typically even getting one meal a day. That's her right there. She was struggling to have one meal a day. Now she has 3 meals a day. She has all that she needs, and she's going to graduate. You're helping her. She's in her senior year of school. You're helping her to finish. So thank you for that.
That's incredible. So the Timothy House is no more. So now we're helping these students come alongside these students to make that difference.
Absolutely. Some are in the community at homes. Some are in the dorms, but all are getting the support that they need.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Chusa, I know that you have a story, and I know you want to sing, and I don't know if you want to sing first and tell your story or tell your story and then sing, so I'm going to leave it up to you. Where do you want to start? You want to sing or you want to tell your story first?
I think it would be great for me to make an introduction of who I am, and then
Then you can come back after and
then I
tell
can
some
come
more
back
if you
and
want to. Yeah.
or maybe,
Have it your way, huh? Do whatever you want to do. Tell us.
I am here as an African New Life product in a way because, well, is product a good word? Maybe, yeah. But I got sponsored when I was 14 years old and lost my parents. Things were very hard for me. I had no hope. I was very desperate. And African New Life came in and held my hand. I would say one of the most important thing that African New Life taught me, or even being raised in their hands, I think it was one thing, recognizing who I am and working hard to sustain my faith. I think that has helped me a lot as a person, as a young man, as a person who is looking towards a brighter future. I was lucky to come to the States. This is not normal. I applied for schools and I got in. It is a miracle that I'm here, and this shows that, and there's a reason why I am here. I'm here to tell you that sponsorship works. And somewhere, I was sponsored by a person who lives in Austin, Texas, knew nothing about me. She came to Rwanda, saw me for the first time, and felt the voice of God wanting to help. And she helped me out, paid for my whole school, and even did some funding for me to go to school here. But, I mean, everybody has their own stories, and their stories matter in a way. God calls us differently in different ways, and I would say that I can be here to be a voice of the children back home, but I can also be here to give you assurance that what you're giving and what you're doing is not taken for granted. There's a lot of lives in Rwanda that you're affecting, and you are helping. And trust me, they pray for you and they love you. I remember when my sponsor used to come to Rwanda to see me, you know, come to the village. You see a white person coming to a village and all the kids running after you, you know, they want to see. And the joy and the happiness you get when they enter into your house with a sack of rice and some cooking oil, and they're here, and you say, I'm going to get to eat for the whole month. I mean, when we talk about food and hunger, it's a real thing. I have gone 2 days without food, and I know how that feels. So for someone to come in and take that responsibility to take care of me and love me without knowing me, no connections, nothing, just love. It's amazing. And so it's changed who I am. It's changed the perspective of people around me. It's changed my family. I feel more closer with my siblings, because when my parents passed away, we had to be distributed to like into different relatives, and we were not in touch for a long time. But when I came to the States with technology, and I can be able to send them something when I have something, now I feel closer to them. And so that relationship, I just don't know how I can explain, but there's a way God does it and brings restoration into people's hearts in the way that you can think. You know?
You know what's amazing about your story? There's a lot of amazing parts to your story. One of the most amazing parts of your story is that here you are, a 25-year-old man now, on a college campus, living out your faith in such practical ways. And we all know this, right? This is not a political statement, so don't send me an email. But we all know that there are tough times out there to be a Christ follower on a college campus. And you don't have to go into it unless you want to, but you're just living your faith even here in America as a Rwandan citizen in the United States, realizing you're a citizen of a different kingdom, and living that out. I'm so proud of you for that. You know that, and just an amazing story.
I think it comes down to knowing who you are and knowing where you came from, because knowing your past helps you to prepare your present and for you to be able to predict your future. And so I'm not gonna come here and compare myself to people who are here, because I have my own story and I know what I'm looking for, you know? And so that has helped me to really sustain my faith. And I'm gonna be honest with you, even though African New Life came in, but I pray to God that African New Life can come in my life. And so God brought African New Life as a support or as an assurance to show me that he wants to go with me. And so that's why I kept my faith. Everything I do, I can't forget about God.
And you know, how does that translate for us? We're the answer to somebody's prayer, right? We can't say, God, fix it through somebody else. God, use me to change a life. How about you sing, and then if you want to keep talking afterwards, sing for us. Anyway, that was powerful. Thank you for reminding us of all of that. Well, Matt, I know that one of the things we would be remiss not to mention this important thing. On the screen right now, we're going to put up a slide where you can go to, and those of you who are watching at home will be able to see this as well, where you can help sponsor a child. Now, Springbrook's already doing some of this, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But talk about child sponsorship even on a more personal level, because here we are sitting in the middle of a pandemic here and all the concerns that all of us have. But there are kids around the world, and especially in Rwanda, who still need somebody to love them. And describe the program, how it works, what's it cost. And
And again, I do want to start by saying thank you, because you already are sponsoring 47 students and helping the kids in the Guardian Angel program. That makes a real difference. And I don't know about you, but through the time of the pandemic, there's times I just feel stuck. I feel kind of closed in. And I do want to just let you know that it is still possible to make a real difference in many ways, as you guys have been celebrating at Impact. And so child sponsorship with Africa New Life is about education. It is about providing the opportunity for students to be in school on a consistent basis. What we've seen time and time again in countries like Rwanda is a student might be in school for a little while and then be out, and a little while and be out. And it's a tough cycle to get consistent progress in. And so a sponsorship helps to make that cycle, to take it away and make a consistent educational growth for a student. And it's not a guarantee they will go to the school in Kayonza. That's a top performing school, but they may have a chance to. And we have 15 students from Kayonza that we have online at this address, africanewlife.org/Springbrook, that if you feel in this season that you can help, that you'd like to start even a relationship, because one of the things that we do is we really encourage you to write your student and they will write you. They really are blessed by the relationship, not just the fact that you're helping them in school. The other thing is that Springbrook's been very regular to go to Rwanda in times when you can travel, and they see the students that are connected to this church. And so it's such a blessing when they gather in one place to have a celebration, to give high fives, and to say, I know your sponsor, and they love you, and they believe in you, and you are going to get through high school and get this education. So that's the opportunity that we have.
That's powerful. And those of you watching at home, simply go to that link as well, and you can make a difference. I know when you guys were at our house last night, we showed you that when you walk into our home, we have a family tree on the wall. And inside that family tree are pictures of our family, but the two boys that we sponsor.
And you've met at least one of them, right?
I met one of them, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's an incredible experience. So that brings us to this next part that I want to make sure you're aware of. So on that next slide, this summer, God willing, and COVID not being an issue anymore,
Amen.
July 23rd through August 2nd. Is that the right date, Bill? Still tentative. We're going to take a trip to Rwanda. And if you've never been to Rwanda before, I got to tell you, you say, I'm not very brave. I barely crossed the street. Rwanda is a great place to go. It's a beautiful country. You already met a beautiful person from there, a loving group of people. And to experience these kids love on you is nothing short of what heaven's going to feel like. It's incredible. We're going to say.
That's right. But I don't promise you to see animals everywhere you go, because those are the questions I get. I had a person ask one day, he was like, do you see lions every day? I say, yeah, I have two friends who are big lions. But yeah, it's just a beautiful country.
Beautiful.
I invite y'all to come, honestly. You're not going to regret. I assure you that.
And the people, it's about the people. The people are incredible, and they're hospitable, and they have things that we can learn about faith in the Lord. It is a wonderful place to visit. So
It's awesome.
please come.
Yeah, so contact Bill Wright, or just, I'll tell you, we'll make this easy. Just send an email to info@springbrookchurch.org. We'll make sure it gets to Bill, who's our mission team leader, and all that information is on our website as well as our mobile app, and we'd love to have you go to Rwanda and be a part of that. Wouldn't it be cool to be there and see all of this? Matt, Chusa, thank you so much. Keep your seats, but thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing and being a part of Springbrook. And I'm going to say this on behalf of Springbrook. We love you guys. We really do, and we're so blessed to be able to partner with you. Let's pray together. Father, we're so grateful and thankful for what we've been reminded of this day. That, Father, it's easy to get caught up as Americans in our own problems. Father, with whether it's COVID-19 or an election or just our normal daily stuff of trying to get our kids online or work remotely or try to find a job or sell a home. And Father, it's easy to get consumed with us, and there's nothing wrong with worrying about our own families. In fact, we need to be caregivers to our families. But Father, it would not be right, since we were reminded earlier in worship that Father, you love the whole world, that you sent Jesus not just for Americans, but you sent Jesus for the whole world. And in this little slice called Rwanda, Lord, we're so thankful that we get to be a part of a ministry there like Africa New Life, who's changing the lives of people practically and giving them the gospel so that they understand it's not just about eating alone, but eating is so important. But it's about knowing who you are and how much you love them. So, Father, continue to burden our heart, not only for the things here, but the people around the world, and especially Rwanda. And, Father, I pray for those in our church family who are struggling, those who are watching online, those in this room, who are wondering if you're still on your throne, who are wondering if you're going to provide. In the chaos of a disease and an election and all the stuff that seems just to wear us out in 2020, Father, remind us that you're here for us. Help us to remind each other that we're loved. And for those who are watching or in this room who may not know you, may they take a step to discover today how much you really do care. Father, we love you and we thank you for these moments at Springbrook. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Watch this video wrap up. Thank you for being here today. Let me remind you of something. Some of you have asked me or indicated, hey, what do I give to at Springbrook? Do I give to Springbrook in general, or do I give to Impact? And the answer is yes, right? We want you to give, because when you give your money away, you discover it's not yours to begin with. But don't forget that the priority, obviously, is to give to Springbrook, and through that, we do all kinds of things here locally as well. But above that, we would encourage you to give to Impact to make a difference in Rwanda, in church planting here, and some other things you're going to hear the rest of this month. So as you leave today, there are boxes on the wall where you can give. Those of you watching at home or in this room, you can give online at our website or through our mobile app. And when you do, all of those resources go to make a difference in real people's lives. Would you join me again in thanking Matt and Chusa for being with us today? Awesome. Thank you, guys. Well, thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next week. Those of you on live stream, we'll see you soon as well. Take care.